An exotic released during the Dark Below, the Warlock chess piece the Starfire protocol was quickly disregarded, as it didn't seem to feel any need for the Sunsinger subclass. Plus the other Sunsinger exotics at the time, being the Heart of the Praxic Fire and the Sunbreakers, tended to be the more preferred choice. The community's opinion of the Starfire at the time was justified though, as there was very little practical use for it, and you can see why. The exotic perk on the Starfire grants an additional fusion grenade charge, which would be like the Titan's armamentarium, except it only specifically works with fusions. Also the fact that the Sunsingers already have a subclass node that grants an extra grenade, it was hard to create a build for it in year 1. Now however, due to the changes in the Sunsinger skill tree, the Starfire protocol has become a far more potent exotic, and in my opinion, bringing it in line with some of the best exotics in the game. But before we look at the build, let's quickly go over the perks. So the Starfire is a pretty simple exotic, granting increased special or heavy ammo, and allowing for more armor while using a Sunsinger class. All these perks are fixed and cannot be rerolled with glass needles, which isn't a problem because they all point to the class you'd want to use it with. The intellect, discipline and strength can be rerolled to the configuration of your liking, but since you don't have to worry about the specific perks on the Starfire, I would recommend rerolling it until you achieve a tier 12 capable roll, having a total stat of 140 or higher. My roll of 146 is at 99%, which makes it very ideal for my build. Finally, the exotic perk is plain and simple. You will get an extra fusion grenade charge. What the description lacks to mention, however, is that you cannot stack this exotic with the Gift of the Sun perk or the Memory of Felwinter artifact. So at best, no matter how you build, you can only ever have 2 fusion grenades at a time. This is fine though, because instead of running Gift of the Sun in the skill tree, you can run Touch of Flame, which allows grenades to ignite enemies for extra damage. By itself though, Touch of Flame isn't that powerful, but when coupled with Viking Funeral, this build begins to pump out DPS for you and your team. There were a few tweaks that made this build more viable over the last year, specifically the change to Viking Funeral to grant a stackable damage buff by triggering grenades on a target. But another change that helped the Sunsinger was the ability to throw grenades more quickly. When spec'd correctly, a Sunsinger Warlock can easily out DPS most snipers in the game, including Black Spindle. While we're looking at the skill tree, I tend to stay away from self-res as it greatly reduces the duration of your Radiance, so Song of Flame is a good choice for team play, and Radiant Skin is alright for solo play. Besides ensuring that you have fusion grenades equipped, other choices are fairly optional. As for the stat loadout, I like to run with a 5-5-2 setup, but most setups would be fine so long as you have tier 5 discipline. The max discipline is very important in this build, as it will allow you to throw grenades as fast as you possibly can, and the fact that you have 2 grenade charges, it will mean that you're never wasting any of your Radiance's ability to cool down your grenades. I should point out the fact that the difference between tier 4 and tier 5 discipline is nearly a 30% reduction in cooldown time, so by all means max out your discipline. So where would this be useful? Well, fusion grenades are great in PvP, but the fact that they one-shot someone if they stick to them already, having the burning effect on the grenade is really wasted. That being the case, I wouldn't recommend the Starfire in PvP. In PvE however, the exotic really shines. Against most mages and altars in the game, Viking Funeral enhanced fusion grenades deal outstanding damage and allow for a bit of damage debuff, which actually can stack with things like Weapons of Light and Tether. I actually look forward to running my Warlock in the raids now, as it can provide so much more than just an extra life as once thought. Against specific raid bosses like the Templar, the War Priest and Axis, Radiance is an awesome damage dealer, with Starfire Protocol improving an already solid build. So would I recommend the Starfire Protocol for endgame content? Absolutely. Just quickly, I mentioned the Starfire didn't really have a purpose in year 1, and for the most part it didn't, except for an incredibly specific component. Running Crota on hard mode while it was the relevant raid, keeping his shield down and dealing massive damage was critical in the fight. This was also when Viking Funeral didn't grant a damage debuff, but actually greatly extended the damage duration, making it perfect for keeping Crota's shield down. Having 2 grenades with this property was only achievable with Starfire Protocol at the time, giving it a very specific but to say the least a very cool use. Anyway, that'll do for the episode. In short, use the Starfire, it's a top tier exotic. Thanks for watching, catch you on the next vid.